Very good morning. This presentation is brought to you by Resonate International with a mission to leverage knowledge worldwide. The topic being covered is promoting sustainable tourism, a wake-up call for Europe. Ladies and gentlemen, Europe's rich cultural heritage, historic sites and breathtaking landscapes have long made it a global magnet for travelers. Although it is the world's smallest continent in terms of land surface area, there are profound differences between the cultures and ways of life in its 44 countries, and that makes traveling in Europe a unique experience for any tourist. However, the influx of mass tourism is putting severe strain on both the environment and the quality of life for local residents. Post-pandemic travel demand has surged further, putting more strain on many already overburdened destinations. This reality has led some popular tourist spots to take unprecedented actions to preserve their identity, environment, and the well-being of local residents. There are protests also in many places to limit over-tourism. In 2023 alone, Europe received over 750 million international visitors. France welcomed a staggering 100 million visitors, reaffirming its status as Europe's most visited destination. European hotspots are well known among travelers from the US, China, and Germany, who tend to favor routes through iconic cities like Paris, Rome, and Barcelona. Meanwhile, British tourists frequent Mediterranean locations, and Japanese visitors are drawn to cultural sites in Italy and France. Tourism demand from countries like China and South Asia has surged as restrictions have eased. In 2023, Europe welcomed over 10 million Chinese tourists, with many visiting France, Italy, and Switzerland for luxury and cultural experiences. Meanwhile, travelers from India are increasingly exploring Switzerland, Netherlands, and France, often focusing on scenic locations popularized by media. This concentrated demand has increased pressure on specific destinations, adding to the urgency of sustainable tourism management in popular hotspots. As tourism's costs mount, many European nations are now exploring ways to curtail or better manage this growing industry. What are the reasons for curtailing tourism demand? First is environmental and infrastructure impact. With each passing year, tourism-related environmental degradation becomes more evident across Europe. Venice, for example, faces high pollution and severe erosion of its historic canals and monuments due to an annual influx of over 25 million visitors. This overcrowding and pollution is causing environmental and structural degradation. UNESCO warned in 2021 and again in 2023 that Venice would face irreversible harm without immediate action, leading local authorities to then impose restrictions on large cruise ships and implement entry fees for day trippers. Similarly, Majorca and Santorini in Greece, receiving millions of tourists annually, have encountered water shortages, waste management challenges, and damage to fragile ecosystems, which highlight the limitations of small islands to handle large visitor volumes. Second is cultural and social displacement. In Spain, for example, tourism-driven issues have led to public outcry. Barcelona, a focal point of these protests, has experienced a housing crisis with rental prices in popular districts surging by over 40% due to demand from short-term rentals on platforms like Airbnb. A 2022 survey by the Barcelona City Council revealed that 63% of residents felt tourism had worsened their quality of life, with many advocating for stricter visitor limits. Barcelona's narrow streets and landmarks face overwhelming foot traffic that damages both infrastructure and local habitats. Additionally, Majorca Save the Mediterranean campaign is drawing attention to the social strain of constant tourism on the island's residents. In Amsterdam, the proliferation of Airbnb rentals has contributed to rising rent, making it harder for locals to afford housing. Many residents find themselves priced out of their own communities, with their daily lives disrupted by noise and traffic. This is leading to protests across popular cities. Local communities feel increasingly alienated from their neighborhoods and are vocal about protecting their heritage and identity from mass tourism's impacts. The third is economic and public safety concerns. While tourism contributes nearly 1.6 trillion euros to European economy annually, many locals see little benefit. Rising costs, particularly in rent and basic goods, burden residents who are not in the tourism sector. Small towns like Hallstatt in Austria, with fewer than 1,000 residents, face overcrowding and inflated costs due to an influx of nearly 1 million visitors per year, leading some to wonder if tourism's benefits are truly worth its costs. While tourism is a major revenue source, its benefits are often unevenly distributed. Dubrovnik, Croatia, with fewer than 50,000 residents, receives around 1.5 million visitors annually, mostly from cruise ships. A survey by the Dubrovnik Tourist Board in 2022 revealed that 70% of residents felt that the volume of visitors degraded their quality of life, and 48% supported limiting daily visitor numbers. Protests in these destinations, along with Florence and the French Riviera have called for urgent government action to protect local communities. Although tourism boosts specific sectors, many locals report that rising costs, crowding, and a seasonal workforce leave little benefit for the broader community. Another issue is the rise in petty crime and safety concerns. In Spain, for example, a 2023 report from the Ministry of Interior showed a 15% increase in crime linked to high tourism zones, particularly affecting cities like Barcelona and Madrid. Police resources often stretch thin during peak tourist seasons, straining their ability to serve residents and visitors alike. What are the compulsions for change being asked by the community? Faced with above challenges, cities across Europe are taking bold steps. Venice has begun limiting large cruise ships, and Barcelona has capped the number of hotel licenses to slow tourist accommodation expansion. Such actions aim to restore balance, preserving quality of life while protecting valuable natural and cultural assets. What is the possible solution and way forward? To achieve sustainable tourism, new policies and practices must emphasize balance and responsibility. Cities may consider adopting approaches seen in Bhutan, where a high value, low impact model limits visitors' numbers and imposes fees using the funds to support preservation efforts. Similarly, Japan promotes seasonal dispersal, encouraging travel to lesser known areas during off-peak times to alleviate pressure on popular destinations. What is the role of the United Nations and international cooperation possibility in this whole affair? The UN's World Tourism Organization is actively promoting sustainable tourism models worldwide, encouraging countries to prioritize environmental and social protections in popular destinations. Programs like UNWTO's One Planet support cities in implementing eco-friendly practices and developing visitor limits that preserve local environments and local cultures. The UN's involvement could help standardize global guidelines such as seasonal travel caps, conservation efforts, and responsible visitor education. A collaborative framework would enable countries to manage tourism in a balanced and sustainable manner. There is a call to the tourism industry consisting of tour operators, guides, hotels, and facilities. The tourism industry plays a critical role in achieving sustainability. Tour operators can promote lesser known destinations and suggest off-peak travel times to distribute visitor traffic more evenly. Hotels, guides, and other service providers can educate tourists on sustainable practices, encouraging respectful behavior, minimal waste, and support for local businesses. Facilities that adopt green policies and collaborate with local communities can ensure that tourism bolsters local economies rather than displacing. A message for tourists, residents, and the government also is important. To tourists, responsible travel means respecting the communities they visit by reducing environmental impact, being mindful of local customs, and exploring lesser known areas. For residents, proactive involvement in tourism policy planning allows for a balanced approach that preserves both local quality of life and cultural heritage. Community-based tourism that benefits residents directly should get promoted. For governments, sustainable tourism must be prioritized with policies that set visitor limits, provide incentives for eco-friendly practices like encouraging electric transportation options and reducing plastic waste, and balance access with preservation. Promotion of less known destinations within a country to distribute tourism impact more evenly could be extra helpful. With these collective efforts, Europe's renowned destinations can retain their cultural richness and natural beauty, benefiting both local communities and future generations of visitors. The journey towards sustainable tourism will require compromise, responsibility, and foresight from all involved. Through a balanced approach, Europe's historic sites and beautiful landscapes can continue to thrive, preserving their unique identity while remaining accessible for global travelers. In conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, there is a need to redefine tourism in the 21st century. In redefining tourism, all stakeholders, tourists, local communities, the tourism industry, and governments must embrace sustainability by balancing economic growth with environmental and cultural preservation. In recalibrating the tourism experience, all stakeholders must strive towards a shared vision of respect, responsibility, and sustainability. By preserving heritage and protecting resources, Europe's tourism industry can continue to thrive, offering future visitors an experience as rich and vibrant as ever. The focus should be on sustainable tourism practices that allow European heritage to be enjoyed responsibly, safeguarding these treasures for future generations. Good luck, Europe, best wishes, and God bless.